What is going on, everybody? Nick and Michael here with Walk-Ins Welcome. We have a special guest with us today, but as always, we are here to help you get more patients, provide better care, get repeat visits, and scale your clinic and your practice. Kimberly's with us today. Tell us about Kimberly.
Yeah, Kimberly Darnell. She is with CARR Commercial Realty, and I usually give like a full spill in the bio, but we've had personal experience with Kimberly here.
She's our friend.
But we're in the office that she helped us find last year, and so we were the full blown. This is what Kimberly does, and we're excited to bring her on because we can just tell you, she's a 5-star rating for us. Like, it was a fantastic experience. We joke about how she would hand us like a binder here with all the listings we're going to that day. And it was so organized. We're like, we're not used to this. This is really nice.
Best pins ever.
Yeah, the best. We have a ton of her pins left over. It's fantastic. But Kim, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thanks, guys. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that you guys are in your new space, and I can't wait to come by and just check it out and see what it looks like, because I know it's completely different than when we started.
It is.
Well,
no more red carpet.
No. The red carpet and the 1999 look is out, and the Patient Care Marketing Pros look is in. But Kimberly, real quick, say hello to the audience and tell us one thing about you that nobody else knows.
Hello, everybody, and I'm excited to get to share some information with you guys today. And I guess something that a lot of people don't know about me or may not believe is that just on one side of my family, we have over 200 cousins.
Wow. That's a busy family. That's a busy 200 cousins.
Yeah.
Are any of them married?
Like at some point there's a crossover.
Yeah, we're in Alabama, so I have to ask the question.
No crossover. My father-in-law is from 11, and they all had like 3 kids or more. So my husband had 39 first cousins just from his dad.
I have to see that family photo.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It's not even close to comparing, but my mom's side of the family had 8 siblings, and so
that's huge.
It's not duplicated at that level. But anyway, well, look, hey, listen, you are the one who helped us find our property. Now, we deal all the time in digital real estate.
Yeah.
Location, right there on the internet. But Kim, you helped us find our space. You were instrumental in getting us, based on all the questions that you asked, and all of our needs, finding the right spot. So you are an expert in commercial real estate. Tell us about how you got there.
So I think part of the way that I got here is just that I had really great training with CARR. I've been in real estate about 3 years. Before that, I had a healthcare background, like multiple different styles of healthcare, I guess. I started out as a clinical dietitian. That's what I graduated with my degree, and I practiced that for about 15 years. In that whole time, and still today, I practice physical fitness. Like, I was a trainer and instructor and all those things. And then when I had my third child, I just didn't want to go back into like a hospital or like a medical setting. And so I sold medicine for about 5 years. And then I came home there were some circumstances, but mainly it was the Blue Cross Blue Shield quit paying for, in Alabama, if Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't pay for it, nobody can afford it. So quit kind of paying for what I sold. So I transitioned into selling teeth. So I went into kind of the dental world for about 5 years, and then I landed here, and this is it. I am not starting over again. This is I'm so sad I wasn't in this, 20 years ago when all of the other things were going on, because this has been the most fun, the most rewarding, probably thing that I could have chosen to do.
Well, and I think we're a unique client to you because you deal a lot with the medical side. Like, you even mentioned healthcare, even your background. I didn't realize how much your background was healthcare, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But the fact you're selling teeth for 5, that was pretty neat. But yeah, and so you're able to talk and understand the conversations and what the actual needs are when it comes to medical, because it's a different animal. I mean, we're probably a very simple case study for you versus some of the other ones you've had to work with over time, I imagine.
Yeah. And it just comes down to the end of the day. What does the patient need? How much space do they need? How much can they afford? And then the most important part of any transaction for me is just going to be the relationship that I build in that. Because if I can't build the relationship and build the trust, then how are they, or why would they use me actually,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really the most important part of any of the transactions is going to be just the trust factor.
Yeah.
Well, we live in the retail healthcare world, right? So what I find most interesting about the crossover with you is that your focus is these retail healthcare clinics. And you talked about dentists, that's retail healthcare. Urgent cares, that's retail healthcare. Chiropractor, that's retail healthcare. Like that's, I don't need you, I want you, right?
Yeah.
Now, to that doctor, they need you, but I know a whole bunch of people who don't take care of their teeth. I know a whole bunch of people who wait to go to their primary care, or I know a whole bunch of people that don't use a chiropractor or whatever it is, right? So location is huge. But where do you separate yourself out when it comes to, I know you talked about the background in healthcare, but how has that served you in commercial real estate?
I think the biggest thing is confidence. I don't know about you, and it may not be in the case with you and like doctors, or just kind of depending on what kind of setting you're in. A lot of people are very, they get really nervous, like when they're talking to doctors, and I don't know, it's like, oh, he's a doctor, he's going to think I'm dumb or whatever. And I just think that just being around so many healthcare professionals for so many years, I just have a confidence, when I talk to them. Also understanding what I'm doing, knowing how I can help them and how I can benefit them. I'm offering them a service that is going to save them tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's going to ring in anybody's ear. Anybody's going to want me to do that. Right. And so that's going to always be my goal, right? I'm going to do the best that I can for them. And in the process, I'm going to try with everything in me to save them a ton of money.
And we're reciprocated that, right? We've saved thousands by you just simply asking a couple of questions to the person that owned the building, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, sure, and like, boom, half rent for a few months. No, it's like, okay, but I was going to bring up, so like I had mentioned to you before we started the podcast, like a lot of our audiences, they're business owners, they run a medical facility, they're looking to start one or grow one or whatever. I know, like Nick said, we're in the digital space. We don't know much about the commercial real estate space. So we were like, deer in headlights about what makes sense. All I knew is that the earlier we start, the better deal we can get later down the road. For sure. That's all I knew. Because if you're in a rush, you lose money. And so, all that being said, so what are some things when people come to you, what are some like common misconceptions that people have about finding commercial locations, or the normal challenges that they don't think about, where you're like, hey, let me educate you just a little bit for a minute, because this is what reality is. What are those common things that you come across?
So the first thing is, I think what you said is really important. Timing is key. Okay. So depending on what their needs are, we have a time frame, right? Mm-hmm. So let me just give you an example. I had an eye doctor call me about 2 weeks ago, and she said, hey, I just got the lease that I'm supposed to sign for my renewal, and it was due on the 31st of January. So maybe this was 3 weeks ago. And she said, and it's completely different. It doesn't look anything like my other lease, and I'm just supposed to have a 5-year extension on it. What can I do? And at that point, I'm like, well, let me think about this, because what I needed was 6 months to be able to kind of really help her with a renewal and be able to negotiate some new things for her or whatever. Now, we did the best we could with what we had. And I'm definitely going to jump in there and do the best that I can. But if you're doing a renewal, we really need about 6 months, maybe even longer, because what I really like to do, and this is what I did to her, is I took her to market and we started touring other spaces. And she was like, well, I really don't want to move. Well, I understand that you don't want to move, but we don't have any negotiating power here.
No comps to like go back to and say like, hey, you're asking for this rate. This is what the going rate is down the road. Right. You gotta encourage me to stay here.
Yes, correct. So I think the timing is really, really important. I think something else that people don't understand is, I get this question all the time. They'll call me and they'll ask me all the questions and kind of interview me and see if they want to use me. And then the last thing they say is, okay, how much do you charge? So that's my favorite question, because I get to say, I don't charge you anything. Yeah. There's going to be brokerage fees already in every single deal. Every landlord already knows they're going to be paying brokerage fees into every single deal. Those are set aside, and I'm going to negotiate my portion of those. But as far as you paying me something out of your pocket, you're absolutely going to pay me nothing. So
it's kind of a no-brainer, right? At that point.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I'm completely free to them, right? I'm a free service. And, doctors need a doctor, and they need to let, you know what I mean?
You sound like us. Just go take care of your patients, and we'll bring them to
Please
you.
go take good care of
the That's exactly it. You don't even have to worry. Once we sign that little ETL saying that you're not going to use 14 other agents, at one time, because that is a waste of time, right?
For everybody.
If you sign saying that you're going to let me, do this for you, you will know with 100% assurity I'm working for you, and you will have an update quickly. I'll have everything you need, and we'll have a tour date set in no time.
And I'll say this. So one of the most frustrating things that we found when before we engaged with you or when we just started, we're like, oh, we can just go look up places. And everybody hides their stuff. They're not just out there promoting hey, I got a space. You have to go physically drive by and see a sign, hopefully. But in the majority of the places you took us, they're there was no sign. There was nothing. And we drove up and walked right in. Okay, there's a space. And it was amazing to us because we would do a search online. I forget the name of the Rent Cafe, whatever that website was. And you're oh, there's only 20 locations here in Hoover. And then you're no, here's 80. Yeah. So just let's dial it down. And then I was well, dadgummit. It was one of those you really try to go and do it on your own. You're going to waste a ton of your time, and you're not going to find the space you actually want. And then, like you said, you end up spending more money because you don't know how to negotiate properly.
Right.
Well, and the other thing about that is it's a waste of your time. But you also say, I have clients that call me and they're well, I've been driving around and I've been calling people. Yeah. I've been calling listing agents. Okay. So the listing agent knows immediately they don't have representation. Right. Mm-hmm. And so then when I call them, they're well, I've already talked to her. I'm well, you did, but she hadn't hired me yet. Now she's hired me. So now you get to talk to me. Right. So
I am her lawyer.
I just am her representation here. So there's no way she's going to be able to jump in and sign a 10-year lease with you without understanding the process and, having somebody negotiate for her. She's going to need some help, or he's going to need some help. So that's what I'm here to do. So what happens is they kind of will ruin the leverage that we can have by starting to call. So that's the other thing we encourage them. Once they start calling us and asking, or if somebody calls me and says, hey, I need your help, I'm please don't call any landlords. If you see a sign and you think I'm not going to find it when I go do my search, just send me a picture of it and I'll call on it,
Well, so that brings up a question, that kind of frustrates the landlord a little bit that you step in and take over because now they have to pay you, right? So this begs the question, are you motivated on your client's behalf to save them money or to call or for that rent to be higher based on how you get paid?
So I would say that a lot of people, if you're motivated by money, if that is just your sole purpose for existing, then they're going to be well, I don't really care, what the rent rate is. But what I try to do is just sit down with my clients. I need to know kind of do you have your financials in order? What is going to be your budget? What are we looking at here? Because there's no need for me to go show them, spaces that are going to be $50 a square foot when they can afford $20 a square foot. It's just, you know what I mean? So to me, it really doesn't matter. My goal is to get them in there and pray that they are just really successful in that space and that they're really happy. And then what they're going to do in turn is they're going to refer me to somebody else.
For sure.
And they're going to say, and my goal is always, my grand hope is to always be able to show them a spreadsheet saying, this is one space, this is another space, here's another one, and that way they get to choose. I'm not choosing the space. It's not my business, right? It's their business. My goal is to find the best spot that I think that they can be the most successful.
And we could argue the spot that we have here is one of the best spots that we looked at by far.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And it's not where you said you originally wanted to be.
No.
Right?
No, there was one spot we were begging for, and they're no.
They didn't even want to talk to us.
They're we're not talking to you.
I bet they miss us now.
Or at least our rent check. Come on.
It's still empty.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's still empty because of what they were, what they were asking and all of the things. So, yeah. But, I have a client that I just closed a deal with, and he found me on our website. He went to the CARR website and he read my bio. He read everybody's bio, and he ended up choosing me, when I'm so thankful for it, because he's opening up 3 spaces.
Nice.
We closed the first one, and when I had his parameters of where we were looking, I sent him all his locations, and he took off all the ones he didn't want. And I went through, and I was like, wow, I can't believe he took this one off. And I just stuck it back in there because I knew it was going to be, I was like, oh, I think he's going to like this. And I'm just going to stick it back in here. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up touring 10 spaces, and you can guess which one he's in right now.
There you go.
He's in the one that he had originally kicked off. And he told somebody that the other day, I kicked this one off, and she put it on and just said, I think you need to see it. Just kind of having knowledge of the market, knowing what his business is. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to be a good place for him if he would just go look at it. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal. I just want to make sure you're in the best spot for what you're doing.
One of the things that I felt you brought to the table for us, and I'm sure you do for your other clients, is just vision past what we can see.
Yeah.
And I can't come in here and visualize what my office is going to look like until it starts coming together. Mm-hmm. Where you were in here is like, yeah, that's going to work for you. That conference room, it doesn't look the way you think it does, but once you get everything in there, it's going to be the perfect size for what you've asked me for.
Right.
And yes, this is shaped a little different, but it's going to fit everything that you want, and you're actually going to be able to operate closer. Take that over to a medical facility, right? Hey, I know you really like this space, but we hadn't seen 3 cars drive by here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I get it. It looks amazing, but it's going to take your business. Those are the kind of things that I feel you were able to bring to the table, and that you can bring to the table for people that are looking for new space.
Talking about imagination, though, we have a client in Louisiana, and they just they're in urgent care. I think they opened their 6th location, mm-hmm. and it was originally a Mexican restaurant. And we toured it with them. Like, we had gone down and visited with them, and then, hey, let's go check out our new place. And it was just a Mexican restaurant. We went in there, they had just kind of gutted most of it. Mm-hmm. And he was just kind of visualizing, and it made me laugh because, like, the corner was perfect. There were thousands of cars mm-hmm. on that corner. And so he knew what he was doing, but it just made me laugh because, like, that imagination's real. Because if I drove by that's a restaurant, it's always going to be a restaurant. And now it's a urgent care with a DOT dedicated entrance for all their DOT examination stuff. So I just think it's cool because that little box is just a starting point, right?
That's right.
And I think people forget about that because sometimes they just want to go turnkey and just say, I want to move my doctor's office into a doctor's office. Like, we don't have to always do that. You can go around a different way.
Correct. That's true. 100%.
Well, what is your favorite thing about working with the healthcare industry? It's a unique prospect when you're looking at real estate. So outside of your background, what are the things that light you up about working with a healthcare pro?
I think I just love to see people be successful. I've had some really great clients. I think for to what Mike just said, like one of my eye doctors, we went into a clinic in Tuscaloosa, and we walked in there, that space, and it was atrocious. It was an old, like, dental office, and it had been empty for, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years. Wow. It had been originally decorated, like, in the 70s, I think. I mean, it was horrific. Her husband was touring with us, and this was one of the last places that we went to go see. And he walked in, her husband, and his eyes were just, like, huge, and he was like, oh my Lord, no way. And she and I both looked at each other and were like, this is it. We knew,
he's like, no.
We knew 100%, like, this is the space. This is the one. And because we could just, have a vision. And I think he's just used to, like, DIYs, and he was looking at all the do-it-yourself projects. And it's like, no, the landlord's going to take care of this. You're not going to be doing any of this, And it is absolutely the most gorgeous eye doctor's office that I've ever walked into. It is absolutely beautiful. And that's so, cool. Helping somebody just find something. And that was her dream. Her dream was to own her own practice. And she had been in practice for 10 years, working for corporate. And so I think if you read my bio that I put in there, one of my things is, these people that I help, this is their dream. Like, you know what I mean? They want their own space. They're living out something that they've been working for years and years for. And so if you can just be a part of that, and help them get the best deal that they can and just be excited for them. I think through the past few years, I've spent a lot of time on relationships, like developing really good relationships. And so, I have a lot more to offer than just, the real estate portion. I mean, I can help them find the right banker. I can help them find the right accountant, the real estate attorney, financial planners. I could list, there's 12 different people that I got to refer to my men's health clinic guy, and he's using every one of them. Now I give him other options. I give him a couple of options in each category, but he's using somebody in 12 different areas of his business that I was able to refer to him, so, being able to help people like that, you become their friend, and then that just shows that you genuinely care, about their business, right? You want them to be successful. And so you're going to refer the best of them. And that also, helps them be successful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and you think about too, like you are the local expert to that location area, because I know you have clients like they've never been in the city before, but are going to put a location in there, so they don't know the vendors, because there are some vendors that have to be local, like whether you like it or not, and you can help guide them through that and say, this is what I know, and this is who I know, and this is where you should start. Because I think people forget about that sometimes. Like we've talked to enough business owners in general. A lot of them make the assumption, if I've done it here, I can do it there. And that's not always the case.
the location and the people change.
They do. The mindsets, the standards are different. Like we're here in Birmingham. We have a lot of clients that do Birmingham and Huntsville just beats them up sometimes. They just assume it's the same, but it's a completely different demographic.
Well, I remember with one of our urgent cares, they moved into a certain part of the city in Florida. Yeah. And then they call us up, hey, we need you to put a converter on our website so that when they click on it, it's nothing but Spanish.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, that's what happens. You can't duplicate to that population the same way. You have to talk to them. Yeah. Not just what you do.
100%.
It's not McDonald's.
Yeah. And you got to look at like what kind of medicine are they practicing? Like, is it going to be self-pay? Because if it is, you don't want to put them even in Birmingham. There are areas where you don't want to put them, right? Like they're not going to be successful there. They need to be successful in a different demographic. And so understanding, do they take insurance? Just basic information about, their business is going to help you, or help me find them a place, right? Right. The best location.
So let's find your perfect client. Who is the perfect client to you from the standpoint of what kind of homework should they do before they talk to you? Like, what are the things that they should be doing before they engage with you or a commercial agent of the same capacity? Like, here's some things I wish if every client that came to me was this well prepared. And I bring this up because I've been going through the They Ask You Answer thing. Oh, yeah, it's glorious. And They Ask You Answer, it's a book. I highly recommend it from a content standpoint to anybody. Anyway, but I'm going through it, and he talks about how when someone's educated and they come to you where they know exactly what they're wanting because they've done their homework, and it makes the whole process just easier. So from your standpoint, what's some of the homework that a person should be doing when they're like getting ready with the idea of finding a new commercial space?
Okay. I think one of the things that they have to be able to tell me is like exactly what their needs are. Like, what is your business? Of course, they're going to have that and have a business plan. Another thing that's really important is going to be their financials. Have your financials, in order. One of the main things, and I think you guys saw this when we were doing your negotiating, is everybody wants a personal guarantee these days.
No, right? No, sir. No, ma'am.
So those, I need to know, are you going to do a personal guarantee? Are we going to do a corporate guarantee? If you're with a big corporation, how is this going to work for you? Because you're not going to get it. The days are over where you're going to go in and just sign a lease, and they're not going to ask for some kind of guarantee, right?
COVID fixed that.
Yeah, right. Correct. Yes, 100%. So,
that's a negotiation. I had to take a hit in the pocketbook to get that. and I'm not going anywhere, but you told me that up front. And so therefore I told you this has got to be a part of our negotiation tools. And it probably ruled out over half of the places we could even look at.
I know it kicked out a couple of them that we really like, for sure.
Yeah. It 100% did. And that's unfortunate, but I guess, they're trying to be really careful,
So am I. I'm not putting my kids up for leverage. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I agree. So
clearly a passion point for me.
100%. So that's those are some things I can do, like really just having your financials in order is kind of the biggest thing, because I don't know where I can put you if I don't know what you can afford. And it really is. I think I said this earlier. It's just really pointless for me to show you certain things if it's just nowhere. If it's just not a possibility.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because then you're going to want that space. Guaranteed, you're going to want the $50 square foot space, because it's just going to be prime and it's going to be everything you dreamed of. And instead, what we really have to do is have some really good imagination and go back down to this $20 square, and let's see what we can do here. How much tenant improvement money can we get? Can we get your space turnkey to where, they pay for it all and you don't have to put any money up front? Like, there's lots of different things that, I don't know. I don't even know how to say that really. Just that's just really important, I guess.
Yeah.
But Kimberly, I'm in Birmingham, or you're in Birmingham, and I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm in Texas, or I'm in Nebraska, or New York, or wherever I am.
Oregon.
How are you going to help me?
Okay. So call me anyway.
Yes. That's the point I'm trying to make.
100% call me. We have a great national accounts platform. We have a great service to where I can reach out to over 150 agents across the country. We do not have an agent in every state. I think we have agents in probably about 45 to 46 states, but we are brokered in every state. Okay. So we are the only healthcare buyer tenant agent. We're only buyer tenant agents. And so we are that company that has somebody everywhere, but we're the only one in the nation that does.
And I know in the explanation on the buyer tenant agent, you guys don't have signs everywhere type of
anywhere.
Thing. Yeah. You're not that traditional. I see an Engle Realty sign on our building right now. Like, that's not you.
No.
Correct. So that's one of the things that kind of makes us stand out as well, is that we don't list properties. So again, when I'm looking for my clients a space, I'm looking for my clients a space. I'm not looking for a space to try to fill for my landlord who's in my ear. Or a lot of times it's somebody within your company's landlord is like, hey, somebody needs to fill this. So you've got other agents around you trying to push you into this space that your client really doesn't want to be in, because they, need to keep that landlord happy. And so my goal is patient happiness, not, a landlord. So
I love it.
I love landlords. I mean, you have to be kind to them, and, they're going to make or break it for you. But it's just important that people understand that my goal is for my client. I have goals to meet for my client. I don't have to meet goals for anybody else.
That's right.
Nice.
All right, let's do a quick game. You up for it?
I hope so.
It's pretty simple. I do this with my kids. It's just true or false.
Dear audience,
yeah.
This is completely off the cuff.
Yeah.
I watched him write this as she was talking.
Taking notes.
So please have grace on Kim. She's going to get them all right. Look, I know it, but
it's simple, true or false. It's just to wrap up of what's so far been a great podcast. And I thought we would do it more fun than just saying bye. Right.
Okay.
So here we go. True or false? Me, the person looking for a property, I'm the one who pays for my agent's commission.
False.
Expand for 2 seconds, because I know we talked about it, but just go with it real quick.
Okay. Brokerage fees are already worked into every single deal, and I'm going to negotiate that with the landlord and the listing agent. It has nothing to do with the buyer or the tenant.
Okay, then true or false? If I don't use a broker like you, then I'm going to pay less for my rent.
Incorrect.
False.
There are still the same. False.
And he thought I was going to be the waggy one.
I gotta press one of these buttons every once in a while.
So. All right, so that one's false.
That one's false. So, and the reason is those brokerage fees are already in there. So you're not going to save any money because they're still going to pay that listing agent the whole amount. If they don't have to split it with anybody,
they're just going to keep it in pocket.
They're just going to keep it because that listing agent already has an agreement with that landlord.
So really, the listing agent's the one that gets aggravated when you step in more so than the landlord.
Well, I mean, they can.
They can.
All right, true or false? I can negotiate my lease renewals.
Well, that could be true or false. I mean,
Okay.
You could do it, but do you really want to do it?
I just meant it can be negotiated. I should have said that. My lease renewal can be negotiated. True
Correct.
or false?
True.
Okay, so talk about that for a second.
Yes. So, 100% we can go in and help renegotiate your lease when your renewal comes up. Because if you've been in a space, say for example, doctors, when they move in somewhere, they're not going to want to move. Okay. They want to be there. They have to have sinks in rooms and they have to have all these special things. So it's a real pain for them to have to move. So they do want to stay. I'm also going to take them to market and see if we find something in case this renewal doesn't work out for them. But landlords typically will give them tenant improvement money. They'll paint, they'll give them new carpet and stuff like that. So, but you're not going to get what you don't ask for.
They don't want you to go anywhere.
No.
Right.
And they also don't want to offer up any concessions.
Correct. So you have to ask for it. Right.
That's right.
So, and then when they'll either say yes or they'll say no. And if they say no, we'll say, well, okay, well, then I'll just move them. You know,
Yep.
If you don't want to do this, I've got 3 other spaces right down the street that are just they'll be perfectly content to move.
And they're like, whoa, let me.
Yeah.
And you need to also talk about your threshold there in general. I'm just making a statement, like, because we were in the same building, I didn't want to move from the standpoint of just wanting to move. I already had it built out. So there's a threshold. I'm willing to go up a little bit to meet you there. So,
Yeah.
All right, last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Are you ready? All right, true or false? Your space is more important than your location.
I don't think so. I think
So
location.
False.
False, yeah.
Location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It holds true in commercial world.
Point I was trying to make, and you brought up the Mexican restaurant. Kimberly, you're saying, all right, space is greater than location. That's false to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we talked about the Mexican restaurant. We can take a location and make the space right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was going with that. That can be done, and that's more important than choosing the right space and trying to, because you can't change the location.
Yeah.
Right.
That ground doesn't change.
Correct. One of the things that I did want to point out, I don't think we talked about it very much, but you said like urgent cares and such. We have a great national accounts profile, but we also have a great, like, we work with franchises really well. So
Good.
they're franchised. And one of our specialties is like, you know, being able to find one client, multiple spaces. And so that's just one of the things that we do really well, that CARR does really well. And we really like serving those people over and over. So if anybody, you know, out there has multiple locations or wants to expand or just get a new space and then they're going to do another one, we would love to work with them.
Awesome. And on that note, so you just mentioned like some extra things that we weren't completely aware of, which is really cool. But so we're going to wrap up here, but please, how can our audience get in touch with you?
Okay, they can go to the CARR website at carr.us.
Yeah,
and
it's
click
2
on-
R's.
Yep, CARR.us, and they can click on Find an Agent. Hopefully you guys will put
Yeah,
my
we will.
information
got your
on the
link.
podcast. Yeah, that's going to be the best way, is just to go to the website. I'm right up there, Alabama. I'm like the second or third person on our website.
Location.
And my phone number- yeah, location. My bio is right there underneath me, and you just click on that and you can get all my information.
We'll drop a link directly to your profile so they don't have to make extra clicks.
Yeah.
So we'll drop that. We'll put that in our show notes so that they can get right to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you again, Kimberly, for coming on. You've educated our audience on like the commercial space, because it's like a big hairy animal that nobody really wants to deal with most of the time. We're a perfect client for you guys in the sense that you took care of us, 5-star rating all day long. We appreciate it. And thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Y'all have the greatest afternoon.
You as well. Good talking to you. And audience, we will see y'all next week.